The evil of Garouge has been reborn. Your salvation lies beyond the gates of this plantation. Your only chance is this. Uncover the horrible truth about Garouge Plantation and stop the evil. But in order to do that, you must stay alive.
Jason is my son, and today is his birthday. You can have dinner with us. My brother makes good head cheese. Candyman, I get cheese. Candyman, we all go a little mad sometimes.
Hello and welcome to Two Guys, One Necronomicon, a weekly horror review podcast where we talk about all things horror. We talk about your cult classics to your modern day trash, and today we're reviewing Stay Alive. And before we get into that, I would just like to say, please, if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Two Guys, One Necro. Follow us on Facebook at Two Guys, One Necronomicon. And if you can, give us a follow on Spotify and give us a rating on Apple Podcasts. 1 star, 5 star, we don't really care.
No. New episodes arrive every Monday at 6 a.m. We are your hosts, Bryan and Shane. Oh, this is an abomination. Smith.
Okay. That one I wasn't expecting, Bri. I gotta say, you kind of caught me off guard with that one.
And today, we're on a mission. It's a mission to stay alive.
Yes, and it is a mission where you need more than just the two of us.
Very true.
That's why we are bringing in two guests. One returning guest, and someone new.
My brother is here again today. Damian the Eggman Lagrasta.
What's up?
And new guest, Mike Bratwurst Benanti.
Well, I guess that's me now.
Mike, welcome to the show, you old son of a bitch.
Happy to be here, guys. It's great.
Yeah, I'm sorry we asked you both on here to review a terrible movie.
Oh, come on, Shane.
I disagree.
I mean, Dame, last time we had you here, we talked about The Invitation, which was great. And now we're talking about Stay Alive. A movie no one probably remembers or would want to hear anyone talk about.
We have some backstory with this movie, though, because we all watched it as kids growing up together. And back in the day, just for some context, me and Shane hated this movie.
That hasn't changed.
Hated it. Aborred it. Mike and Damian liked it, which is fair.
Is it?
I mean,
We thought it was pretty good, very entertaining, funny. I mean,
Yeah, no, when you're younger, video game movie, horror, what could be worse than that?
he's right. The blend makes a lot of sense, especially from a bunch of gamers like us.
Yeah, even as a big gamer, this movie wasn't doing it for me as a kid.
I don't know if this subject matter was ever hit, because obviously they adapt video games to movies. This is like a movie surrounded by a video game.
The one I can think of was Existenz by David Cronenberg, where it's like a video game where you kind of like plug it into your body.
Oh, yeah.
Much
Is that
different.
the one with Jude Law?
Yeah, good movie. Definitely better than Stay Alive.
And then there's Gamer,
When did that even come out?
like in 2008 or something.
That wasn't good either.
No.
Better than this.
Yeah, video games do not have a good presence in Hollywood, apparently.
No. The Witcher TV show was excellent.
Yeah, that's true.
But then you got things like Doom with The Rock.
It's definitely a guilty pleasure movie for you.
It is.
Or you got Resident Evil. They have the potential to make such great movies, and what do?
They make one good one that has absolutely nothing to do with the video game.
Yeah. Similar to this movie, because this movie has to deal with a real person, and I love the IMDb summary of this movie. They're like, based off the true story of the Blood Countess, Elizabeth Bathery. And I'm like, whoa. And Mike, who is very well versed in serial killers and notorious criminals of the past, mainly murder, because Mike is very dark and creepy.
Just learning the ways.
He pointed it out right away. He's like, this has so many differences, it's crazy.
I think the only thing that's actually true is her name.
Well, one of the differences is that, and the main difference probably, this takes place in Louisiana, and that takes place, I don't know, Hungary?
I think that's what you said, right?
Yeah, her story's, she was born in Hungary at least.
If I remember correctly, that's where it is. But yeah, Louisiana in this case, and they just made up a mansion.
They built an estate and a plantation around her.
So you're saying Elizabeth Bathory wasn't a game developer who also streamlined as a woman killer who bathed in their blood?
Well, I mean, if you watch the movie, you're really never going to know that.
This is true. There's a lot you're not going to understand. The movie doesn't explain much.
No. And that's all because of one minor hiccup.
What hiccup was that?
Well, they cut about $2 million and two major characters out of the movie.
it would have tied up a lot of loose ends because there's so many.
Yeah. So I don't want to get into all that because I'm sure we're going to rip it apart as we're talking about this movie.
Yeah.
Or praise it.
Let's go right into that. After you two rewatch this movie, do you still feel the same way you did as kids?
I definitely do not. I mean, I'll be honest. I really wasn't looking that deep into characters and like dialogue and things like that. So I didn't have that mindset going into this movie, obviously, as a kid. I will say this, though. I really do appreciate the mid-2000s, like, tech references, and it really did make me kind of smile.
Yeah, there's, like, one part in this where Jimmy Simpson's character says, noobs, and I'm like, is this when it started?
Yeah.
Like, the online toxic speak?
Yeah, that would make sense. Like, Call of Duty is big in 2006, so yeah, noob was a huge thing.
But other than that, I don't remember any of the stuff they said.
Well, they do make some cool references in the movie to games, like Fatal Frame 2 comes up a lot. Silent Hill 4. There's all different posters in the background in a game store, which is cool. But that's where the cool factor of this movie ends.
You don't think Elizabeth Bathery is cool?
No.
Interesting about Elizabeth Bathery, she is widely recognized as one of the most prolific, not even like female killers, but just killers. The amount of people she killed is still debated. But legend has it that she bathed in virgin blood, like 650 of her servants.
Interesting. Did she have more kills or more game sales?
Game sales.
Okay.
Because she's a fantastic game developer. Very indie.
She got the aesthetics down of a creepy mansion really well in her game. Because you'll learn in this movie that there's no game developer, so she clearly created the game.
Oh, clearly. She had to.
So, who is this directed by? Because there's a movie he's also directed. I just can't remember his name right now. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, it's William Brent Bell.
Okay, so this guy also directed a movie that I've brought up on this podcast before that is a total piece of shit, The Devil Inside.
I forgot what his initial movie was, and then he makes Stay Alive. Guy doesn't make a movie for another 6 years, comes back with a banger, The Devil Inside. The movie that just kind of stops.
Yeah, so he went from a crap movie to a crap movie that stops, but then he does come back strong, because he does The Boy, which is a good movie.
It is.
And then he went back to his old ways, because he made The Boy 2, which was also a pile of crap.
I just love it when the boys live in the walls, don't you?
Oh, God.
I have a problem, maybe not a problem, but I still don't understand why Elizabeth Bathory was the infamous enemy chosen in this game. There is no it could have been any bad person.
That's the thing. That was my biggest problem with the movie, is what you said right there. There's no tie between Elizabeth Bathory and video games.
There's also no tie to her in the country of America.
No.
So they just picked her out of a hat and
This is like when they took Death Note and made Light Turner
yeah.
in Seattle.
Yeah.
I mean, my only connection that I tried to rationalize but probably couldn't is she's trying to appeal to a younger generation, and what's working in 2006? Video games. So instead of bathing in the blood of virgins, she's
bathing in the blood of nerds.
Nerd virgins.
Another thing that we'll get into, because Brian's about to announce the cast, is that the acting is terrible. For the most part.
The acting's horrible. The dialogue is just so corny, unruly, actually. It's very cringy. You just kind of turn away sometimes, and I remember the movie being bad. I didn't remember the dialogue being this bad. But you know something interesting about Elizabeth Bathory before we get into this? She bathes in blood to keep herself young. That's her legend, her tale, even though she was a real person and did this, apparently. She died at the ripe age of 43.
Wow.
But not a wrinkle on her.
Not a darn wrinkle. She never had to take Chantix or her Simvastin.
She died at 43. Looked like she was 17.
Yeah, she was just smoking hot. I actually have no idea I'm just going off of what she looks like in the movie.
Which is not smoking
Not
hot.
at all.
Yeah, that's
a cold too.
It's just interesting because she's one of the evil people in history where if you Google vampire, she'll be second or third person that comes up probably.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Her or Nick Cage.
Nice. People think that she was the inspiration behind Bram Stoker's Dracula as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They know that. All right. So, without further ado...
Put on your seatbelt.
Yeah.
Strap on your seatbelt, guys.
Come on, guys. Man. Buckle up. Act like you've been here before. Because we're about to jump right into the spooky pit.
You guys ready to jump right into the potty? Alright, so this movie is about teenagers uncovering the mystery behind a friend's death in an online survival horror game based on the story of Elizabeth Bathery, the Blood Countess. True story, folks.
Well, 10% true.
I love the based on the true story thing when it's just not even close.
Which is why it's great that this based on a true story movie starts in a video game house. So, like, right away, something that you automatically think of Elizabeth Bathery. Like, video games, Elizabeth Bathery.
I love it. The movie opens up with the house, right? When it goes from, like, presenting all the people who made the movie or produced it, you get a girl scream, ah! It takes you into the house.
With just a random eyeball. Fun fact about that house, though. First of all, throughout the movie, there's 3 different houses that they show in front of the characters.
Really?
3 different houses. The first one, though, that they show at the beginning of the movie is an exact replica of House of the Dead, the mansion in that movie.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
That's a cool reference.
I love the gaming references. I also love House of the Dead. I play it still sometimes.
But not on Wii. Only on arcade games.
Not play. You don't play it on Wii?
No.
That double shooter?
It's pretty fun. So, we enter this CGI house, video game house, and we see, I guess, one of the characters is playing as, I guess?
Yeah, well, you'll know it's Loomis's character.
Yes, Loomis. I was explaining it that way because I didn't remember his name. Ongoing theme of me and this show. So the guy is walking around the house, and he just, like, sees all this, like, spooky imagery, and there's, like, a woman in a glass case.
Yeah, and I think there's several times where it's kind of dark, and he's looking at portraits, and he just sees, like, girls inside the portraits, and then the lightning will just, like, flash, and he sees it, and it's just, like, a quick jump scare. Nice mid-2000s jump scare.
No, what's good about this movie is that it barely has jump scares in it.
Oh.
It relies strictly on suspense to scare you.
How do you feel about the music of this movie? Because it has, like, this weird kind of, like, quirky Silent Hill ripoff music, I feel.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, vibrating, like in Silent Hill. When an enemy is near in Silent Hill, you have the radio. It makes the static noise.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
And this has its own, like, kind of weird noise when something's about to happen, which I think is, like, supposed to be, like, the controller vibrating.
It's your sphincter vibrating.
Okay.
It sounds more like you're sitting on a dryer.
Your sphincter.
All right, we'll go with all those references.
Like a humming, or like a buzzing or something. The evil is present.
And then I believe he walks up to what appears to be Elizabeth Bathery in the red dress. And she's like next to these patchwork looking kids in the photo. As you know, this woman just like loves little girls apparently. And as the guy backs away, you kind of like see her face and she starts to like look hollow in her face. And she just like looks up.
And then she kind of just like comes at him, pushes him off a balcony, he hangs, and he's dead. And then we cut to real life, and he's calling his friend, and he's like, yo, stay alive, sickest game since Fatal Frame 2.
And I'm like, whoa, Crimson Butterfly, sick game.
That was the second Fatal Frame, Crimson Butterfly?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what other games came out, like, after that were probably much better than Stay Alive. Probably like Fatal Frame 3.
Yeah, probably.
I just want to point out, though, this guy's a beta tester for video games. He dies in the first 2 minutes he's playing the game.
That is an ongoing theme in this movie.
Yeah.
There's a scene with a character who turns the game on and is in a torture chair. But yeah.
It's a hard game, Shane. Come on.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, so Hutch is on the phone with his friend. He tells him he can't hang out tonight. They'll just hang out this weekend. Loomis starts to hear noises come from upstairs, and he walks upstairs to the room, and he opens the door, and 2 people are having fun.
Okay. Please explain to me, and I know this is early, why is this man wearing a pig mask?
Shane, I know what you're saying, but this is where I would throw in a passion bump.
Wow! You're passion bump right away!
Oh, it's right off the bat.
Okay. We might have multiple passion bumps in this episode, and I feel like none of them deserve it.
I was going to say, this movie is the most passionless movie we've reviewed since Antichrist last week.
So something about that pig mask really,
Yeah, it's a metaphor. She's
riled
getting
you up.
porked, Shane.
Oh, she's getting porked!
Is that actually the reference? I'm actually both turned off and disgusted.
But passionately, though.
Alright, so are we actually going to dub this a passion bump?
Passion bump! Passion bump! Passion bump!
My G.
Okay, I guess we did. So yeah, he then leaves the room, and he goes downstairs, because after I've just seen my 2 roommates having sex in a pig mask, I want a glass of milk as well.
I have a question. Were they having sex in the game? Because he says he found them in the game.
I think dead.
Yeah, I think he meant their dead bodies.
Oh, that'd be sick if they were
With the pig mask.
with the pig mask.
I guess. Maybe it's like a Nightmare on Elm Street where you could pull things out of the dream. Instead, they're pulling things out of the video game.
Yeah, he does say, like, you guys have it good, so they must have been... They were killed in a pretty sick way.
We'll see that shortly. So, like I said, guy's getting some milk, and he starts to see, like, a shadow. So he does the rational thing, and he throws the milk at the shadow.
Tosses it right at the shadow. Great self-defense right there.
Yeah, no, I mean, why, like, run and just go back into the kitchen and grab a knife? Pocket milk.
I mean, he's also got like this lighter that's giving out probably the least amount of visible light.
That is also an ongoing thing in this movie, where a character is using a lighter, but there's like brighter light like right next to them. Absolutely fascinating. So anyway, he runs upstairs, and he then goes back to the pig sex room. He sees the two roommates have been pretty grisly murdered. There's just like blood everywhere. It's a quick flash. You don't really see what happened, but you could tell it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I think Sarah's like strung up by chains. Rex is dead on the bed. It's a pretty bloody display. It looks like Shane's bathroom after he's done with Taco Bell.
I'm going to ignore that comment because I'm shocked these characters had names. I didn't know they had names.
Well, I mean,
Rex and Sarah?
This movie actually has a pretty good cast.
Were Rex and Sarah people I should know?
Well, Rex is Billy Slaughter. He's in some movies.
Okay.
I just seen him in a movie with Jeremy Sisto, Dark Meridian. John Foster is the star of this movie as Hutch. Samari Armstrong, Abigail. By the way, if you don't know, John Foster's in a lot of movies, in The Informers. Samari Armstrong. I just know her from a couple episodes of Entourage. I don't know if she was in anything else.
Well, for acting's consistent with this movie, she shouldn't be in much.
After this movie was made, she's like, I am never doing horror movies again. She shouldn't do any kind of movies again. Frankie Muniz as Swink. Jimmy Simpson. Phineas, you love Jimmy Simpson.
He's actually the best character in this movie, and I'm glad he went on to bigger and better things, like being in Westworld.
Wendell Pierce as Detective Thibodeau, who throughout this movie I will refer to him as Bunk, because I don't know him as anything else.
Yeah.
But he's always a detective.
Which is a Wire reference, for those who don't know.
At least 8 roles of being a detective.
Sophia Bush as October. Adam Goldberg as Miller Banks.
Or as I just called him, the boss.
The boss man.
I called him Eddie.
Eddie from Friends.
Friends, yeah.
And Milo Ventimiglia as Loomis Crowley. About to die.
So, going back to it, now that we know the whole cast, after he sees this brutal murder, sees the ghost again and then gets hung? Or does he just get hung?
No, I think he just gets pulled right out of the room.
Yeah, okay, right. He gets pulled right out of the room and he's hanging off the balcony by the stairs.
Second floor balcony.
It's a sad scene. Rest in peace to these characters we have known for 10 seconds. Where two of them I didn't even know their names.
But I guess the most notable part is the way he dies is the same way he dies in the video game.
Yes.
So.
That is going to be the theme of this movie.
That's the key. And this movie has very strict rules.
It doesn't.
Does it?
Does it?
No.
So the scene's going to fade to the title, Stay Alive, on screen. Stay Alive. And now you get Hutch, who's walking into his boss's office, Miller Banks, and I believe the secretary Loretta's like, oh, he's in a bad mood. The second he gets into his office, closes the door, Miller's like, I've been working on this for 100 hours. And Hutch is like, I'm sorry, listen, I will finish the Morena report. Interrupts him, he's like, I hired you for one reason and one reason only. Now the walkthrough says I dumped the ammo and the boss dies.
Yes. So he's indeed talking about dumping 100 hours into Silent Hill 4, and he discussed the Hyper Blaster and how to beat the final boss.
You think I'm not an asshole? Of course I have the Hyper Blaster.
I like Silent Hill 4, really good game. I don't think anyone takes 100 hours to beat Silent Hill 4.
I can't see it. Survival horror is 100 hours into a game.
I think even if you're lost forever,
maybe
you would still beat it in under 100 hours.
Maybe Evil Within on like a Kumu or something?
Yeah, like as a kid, like Resident Evil 1 is like a game where there's puzzles everywhere, and it still probably took me like only, as a kid, like 60 hours to beat. You have to literally be awful to take 100 hours.
I just want to say, because I think this is important referencing, Hutch asks his boss for a day off, and I feel like he goes into work the next day.
I think consider this situation that's coming up, and that's why he might go back to work.
You're saying it's null and void because of what's about to happen? The phone call he's just about to get where he finds out that his friend died?
I guess. But you would think then the day off would be excused and you wouldn't need to use a personal day.
I feel like the day off would be more prevalent if the friend died, no?
Yeah.
Maybe for the funeral?
Well, his friend died. He was a good friend. It was a good death. But he's dead. And he's going to go to his funeral.
And now, the funeral doesn't matter at all. What matters is this new character. Because her introduction and her existing in this movie, I still wonder why.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's very questionable. Still question it. While I'm doing this podcast, I'm questioning the existence of her character, and we'll get more into it later, but she introduces herself by snapping pictures at a funeral of Hutch.
Yeah, and she has this line, and I actually wrote down a line for a change, because I was like, She says, I took this photo of you because you were the saddest person here, but you're the only one that isn't crying. And I'm like, that's both a weird thing to say to someone at a funeral and a weird thing to say to someone as your, like, introduction line to this person, because she has never met him before.
Yeah, she was snapping photos when he was sitting down. Now that he's standing up, she taps him on the shoulder and just snaps him right in the face. Like, it's so awkward. Like, who does that?
Yeah, like...
Maybe a hobo?
Come on. Her mom is a teacher at UCLA, and her dad is, like, a professor at, like, Harvard.
That's true. She grew up in Georgia.
And she's about to go to Princeton. All these are relevant to the story.
Yeah, she mentioned that she was supposed to hang out with Loomis's, I don't know how you explain it, Loomis's friend Sarah.
Yeah.
They're mutual friends, but he was supposed to hang out that night, obviously, with Loomis.
Before we go into more of the plot, I want to ask you two here. What is your opinion on this character, Abigail?
A pretty face. She just looks like the character that's going to be with the main character. I'm guessing that's the direction they want to take with this movie, and it turns out that is the case.
Do you want to hear my deeper thoughts?
Well, yeah, I want to hear Mike's thoughts first. Because I just want to get everyone's roundtable opinion on this character that I don't think should be in the movie.
Well, let me take a different stance then. She's completely relevant. Her dialogue is incredible, and she is a very important part of this movie.
Okay, so you've essentially just turned into Bryan reviewing Rise of the Scarecrows.
Wow. Those are some darts. That was a great film if you had a chance to watch it. It's still on Amazon. I watched it last night. I think her character was strictly an add-on because she was blonde.
She's like a Vince McMahon product?
Yeah, and it always works, except for this movie.
Her introduction is pretty weak, to be honest.
I looked a little deeper into my brain and tried to find another reason why this woman would be in this movie. And as we get a little further into the movie, you see that October is kind of like the emo, dark, kind of slutty girl, and they needed somebody who was relatively pure.
Yeah, they should have just made that pure girl October.
Yeah.
Because she's a much more interesting character. She's probably the only other good character in the movie, maybe?
Yeah, I agree. I like how you called her a slut. It's interesting. She does nothing slutty in the movie, but there's one scene where her brother's like, yo, whore.
Their dynamic, by the way, is the best dynamic in the movie. The brother-sister.
is.
I'll just cut into it because we're about to meet these characters.
And just to back up a little bit, we actually just kind of glossed over and skipped how Hutch actually receives the game.
You're right. How does he receive the game?
It's given to him by Loomis's little sister.
You know what it is? I was so distracted by how much I hated the introduction of this blonde girl that I forgot that happened. And I even have it written down right here. Looked past it.
I think it's got a lot of other miscellaneous things, too, that
Yeah.
are of somewhat importance, but the main thing is it has all of his video games that he would want his friend to have. And one of those video games, obviously, is Stay Alive.
Yeah. What I like about Stay Alive is it's like truly a beta copy because it's a white cover that just says Stay Alive in like Comic Sans red like font.
It's like something you would find an expansion pack of Sly Cooper in.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's like something you would write in crayon.
Exactly. All of it. Getting your colored pencils out and you write right on the copy.
Yeah.
This new character decides to give Hutch her number if he needed her, which he doesn't even know her. So I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that's going to work out.
All little things that like little girl giving the copy of the game is important,
Yeah.
but I don't care about the other character.
Not to mention you have your first instance of the cops not doing their job because that whole house would be a crime scene. And how did she get all his video games?
That's true.
That's a good point, actually. Especially that one, because you would assume that game's still like in his computer since that he was playing it, and they probably would have took the computer. We cut to Hutch meeting two new characters. They are Finn and October, and he meets them at a bar? Like, what is this?
It's an internet cafe.
That's okay. It's an internet cafe, and they are brother and sister, Finn and October, and they're the best two characters in the movie.
Sophia Bush and Jimmy Simpson, for sure. So Finn mentions, he gives him a little backstory here. Finn mentions that, wow, it's like it sucked, now your friend passed away, before that your parents. So you find out something bad has happened to, well, at least one of his parents. Now his friend's dead. So all he has is them, really. And now this blonde girl, I gave him her number, That's going to be really important.
Yikes.
So October's looking through the photo album with him and Loomis. And of course, Finn is looking at the Stay Alive copy of the video game. And I could be wrong, but I think you get quick flashbacks throughout this movie of his fear of fire. You see him looking at this woman burning. Which
It's the only kind of backstory-ish thing in this movie that does play a role in the plot of the movie. Any other backstory you get really doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they get Stay Alive, and Finn's never heard of it, but he's like, we need to play this game. Scene transitions. Hutch is washing plastic cups.
Yes, okay. I'm glad you brought this up, because I actually, really wanted to mention, who washes red Solo cups?
Toby Keith.
He grew up a long time, probably, doing things on his own. So, I don't know if it's, maybe he can't afford cups, or maybe this is just, he doesn't have to go to the store as much. It's a convenience thing. Damian called it out when we were watching it. It was a little strange, but, you know, it is what it is.
Those are specifically for throwing away. Just, like, have a glass if you're going to do dishes.
You just gotta just move on, though. Accept it. The guy washes red Solo cups. Okay. I mean...
So he hears a noise. He goes to the door. He looks through the peephole of the door, and all of a sudden, his friend Swink pops up into view, and it's Frankie Muniz's character. Mm-hmm. He's wearing, like, this backwards green visor. He's super cool. It looks like he's about to referee a tennis match.
Either that or do my taxes.
And then all of his friends kind of swing by. The whole group comes in, and October's like, you want to explain this one to me? And guess who walks her little pretty tushy into the camera view?
Abigail.
Yeah.
Do they mention why she was with October, Finn, and Swink?
I think she just arrived at the same time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, guys, this is Abigail. She's chilling with us tonight. She's cool. I met her at a funeral.
And they just happen to have an extra computer for her. And all of them bring in towers that are like purses. They all have straps on them. They're just walking them in like their ammo cases.
Finn is great. He's got so many good one-liners in this movie. He looks at Abigail. He's like, sup, Ma? But I love her response. She's like, what's up? She does it every time he says it, too, in this movie. It's pretty cool.
You know, this movie has stellar dialogue.
It does, because she whispers in Hutch's ear. She's like, I gotta pee!
It's the first thing you say to somebody you don't know that well. You just walk in, you're like, piss.
Like attention much?
She also does take a picture of all of them together.
Oh, she has to.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
Finn lets the world know that this girl's got some body karate going on.
Best line of the movie.
A legendary line that he threw out there.
Body karate?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
I actually don't know.
I love October. She's like, anyone who says size doesn't matter never played a third-person shooter. And Finn's like, you're a whore. So now they're all getting ready to play.
Wait, what does that line mean exactly?
Body karate?
No.
Third-person shooter?
Yeah.
I did not get it. I don't even know why they put that line in the movie.
Okay, alright, because like, I forgot that line happened until you just mentioned it, and I was thinking over in my head, I'm like, what does she mean? Size doesn't matter, third-person shooter? Am I, like, just dumb and not putting 1 and 2 together?
I don't know. Is that a reference to her being kind of slutty? I have no idea. I really don't know.
Is it just so Finn can yell, you're a whore?
That's probably why the line's in there.
What does size have to do with seeing a character model playing a video game?
Yeah, that's what it doesn't make any sense. Moral of the story is you're a whore.
Now they're getting ready to play Stay Alive. And Hutch contacts his boss, who's joining them in the squad.
So it also made me realize they all didn't have to bring their monitors and could have each played from their own individual homes. But I kind of like that they had a throwback LAN party.
No, they do. They needed that because it was a part of, I guess, getting over the friend's death. They did it for Hutch.
That's true.
So title screen of the game comes on. Multiple TVs are showing. Maybe like one person per TV because there's like a ton of TVs. Mm-hmm. And then a book opens with Shane's favorite prayer, the Prayer of Elizabeth. And then the camera kind of zooms into the game now, and you just see the book. Nothing happens, you just see the book. And Abigail's like, well, maybe we have to read the prayer. And Swink, who's like supposed to be like this tech guru in this movie or something.
He's like, that's next-gen technology speaking to a game. It's like, that's not out yet.
Voice activation? Light years ahead of us, even though it probably was invented like in 2008 or something.
Yeah, whenever the 360 came out, and then they had the...
360 was 2006. It was the same year this movie was made.
Alright, so then the Kinect came out, like 2 years after the 360 came out? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was 2 years in the future.
Yeah, but they're also wearing headphones, which if 360 came out then, we had headphones.
That's a good point. Yeah, actually, there was headphones for regular Xbox, because you could play Halo 2 with it.
It's not next gen.
Alright, anyway, they are right though here, because you can't play the game until you read the prayer. And we're gonna do you a solid. We're gonna read the prayer for you, as the movie does.
Come to me, clouds. May you rise as an evil storm, born to rip them open. Let the cover of night bear witness and destroy those who resist, so they shall harm me not. Let the blood of many cleanse me, preserving beauty eternal, I pray you.
And it activates.
Well, we're in the game now.
So, this is where they have to go to the Garoosh house? The Baba Ganoush house?
The Garoosh plantation. Is this a real place? I don't think so, but I can't confirm that.
Well, let's ask our resident Elizabeth Bathery expert, Mike.
I don't think so, but I can't confirm that.
Okay. The game has this tendency to constantly say the title of the game, where it says stay alive, like a lot.
It's really the story of how many times can the word stay alive be spoken in this film.
Yeah, this game is, like, you would think it's a survival horror game, But it starts off as a looter shooter where they're just running through a cemetery.
What about the RPG elements in the beginning of them customizing their
yes,
characters?
One thing I noticed though, did you guys notice that when they finish saying the prayer, that like a liquidy ghost moves behind them?
Yes.
Yes,
Did you know
that I did notice.
There's like a plasma-like apparition behind them. Some would say it's in them. Not me, but...
But
Not you.
it was like Shane referenced before, the game actually creates all of their avatars to almost a defining pinpoint where it's like everybody's person, their persona.
Yeah, it's like either they're the best create a character people of all time where they know how to make themselves perfectly, or whatever they did, the game didn't care and just put them in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, they get pretty in-depth in their creation, and this comes up later as one of, like, a major issue.
You have Swink, who's got the backwards visor on his character.
Yeah.
You have the goth girl. She looks extremely... October, she looks extremely goth. It looks like her name is like Veronica and it's spelled with like 15 Ks.
So yeah, going back into the game now. Like I said, it's like a looter shooter. They're just running, spraying their machine gun. Actually, what are the guns? Are they like two strawberries on sticks?
I know Hutch has a crossbow that shoots like a shotgun.
Yeah, it's a crossbow shotgun, dude.
Yeah, no, but when the one guy's like just waving his arms, with what are those? It's like two red guns or like strawberries on sticks? Like I can't... All I know is he's mowing down children.
But when they get into the game, you get a little bit of the narrating voice. And it gives you a little background on Elizabeth Bathery. And this is a big contradiction to real life. Because they're like, over 200 years ago, Elizabeth Bathery opened the Finnish school for young girls. I'm like, wrong. Not 200 years ago.
No, but they were right. It was over 200 years ago. It was just like 500 more before that.
Well, this is why it's based on a true story, not exactly a true story.
The goal to win the game is to uncover the truth behind the plantation, stop the evil. But in order to do that, you gotta stay alive.
Yeah, no, we're gonna hear that a lot. As they're like doing this, the group kind of splits up in the game. Their boss goes into a crypt by himself. I think one of them even says, "Don't go in there." Mm-hmm. And then the rest go into the house and into this room with a lion, a witch, and a wardrobe. Minus the first two things I said. There's just a wardrobe.
Is it a tomb? Isn't it Elizabeth Bathery's tomb?
Well, no, that's where the boss is.
Oh, he goes into the tomb.
The other people go and find the wardrobe.
Well, they gotta run into somewhere because there's a bunch of little girly ghoulies running around.
What do they find in the wardrobe? They find the book.
Yeah, they find her diary.
Yeah.
Abigail does discover a secret room.
Well, yeah, that's in the wardrobe.
Yeah, because she has to go to Narnia. They find the diary, the Elizabeth Bathery diary. It's in a glass case underneath, I think, a portrait of her. You see, like, a large portrait of the Blood Countess. And they see the prayer in it. And Miller, like you said, he's in this...
torture chamber.
And he drops a rose. This game, they explain that roses protect you from the ghosts.
Yeah.
So he drops a rose to protect himself.
Have any of you guys, in all the movies we've seen over the years, have you ever heard that before?
That a rose will protect you? No.
No. I wonder if that had something to do with the actual Elizabeth Bathery. Like, was she afraid of wilting like a rose over time?
Nice.
Oh, nice, Shane.
See?
But
or I could have thought that through a lot more than the movie, which is most likely the case.
Well, you gave it 2 seconds of thoughts already. Twice as much.
Yeah. The boss, he's in this torture chamber, but then Elizabeth Bathery shows up and she lunges at him with, like, shears?
Shears. Yeah.
We've reviewed more movies than I would have thought that have shears as a weapon of choice to kill. Essentially, yeah, she jumps at him like she's the villain in Clock Tower, and she stabs the boss in the video game in the neck. And
With the shears.
Yes, and he lays, like, over the table down there dead.
Yeah. Very bloody.
It is.
And, like, in real life, he's, like, spooked. He's freaked out. He wants to join the game, but you know, as the audience, we see like ghostly figure moving like outside of the office, right? Because he's still working in the office right now. I think he had Loretta, the secretary, phone his wife and tell his wife
that he was,
and he's obviously still playing the video game.
So the rest of the group, they stop playing and they say that was to Loomis.
To Loomis. Cheers.
And now we go back to the boss where he's like walking around and there's like darkness everywhere and he drops his keys at a point and there's the shadowy woman figure behind him.
She's like in like a black dress and she like appears in the hallway. And then he kind of goes back. The door keeps opening on him. Can't close the door to the office. It just keeps opening.
He does the obligatory horror movie thing. Hey, who's there?
Yeah.
Like they're going to answer you.
They're like, yeah, Elizabeth Bathery. You may know me from such and such. I used to bathe in the blood of virgins, that kind of thing.
But I've taken on a second life now and I'm a game developer. But yeah, he goes back into his office and he hears what I described before we started the review as this like buzzing or humming, like you said, Dame, noise. Yeah. So he reaches under the desk to grab his controller. And then when he gets back up, he sees a shadow, screams, and the scene cuts to black.
Now his whole death scene was cut from the movie.
So it did exist at a point in time?
Budget cuts.
Wow, really? They cut that scene out? They couldn't cut out the scene of the girl taking photos in the funeral?
Yeah, they cut a lot of death scenes. That's why a lot of them you don't really see.
People watch horror movies to see the kills. Like,
Yeah, that's the whole point of a horror
it's
movie.
the psychology of horror movies. People like to be scared. Like, why would you take that element away? I feel like that's the element you keep.
No, we had to keep the useless character Abigail in the movie. We cut to the next day where we're back at the office. Hutch is there now. He sees like police everywhere. And that's when he finds out that his boss has been killed.
But wait, he didn't take the day off. He's going back to work.
Exactly.
Yeah, so this is where you're right. Unless, hear me out. Technically, it'd be the day after the day off, right? Because it would be funeral day, then this day.
You think it's multiple days? Was the day he tried to take off on Friday?
And I was thinking it was funeral day they all played the game, went back to work the next day.
Yeah, that would make sense too.
I don't know, dude.
I don't think anyone
Yeah,
does.
no, I think that's clear.
That's a convenient
Yeah.
day off, though.
It is. You know, this movie's convenient. He talks to the detective. The detectives are, like, super suspicious of him because he said he talked to him last night. I'm sure most people who were murdered had talked to someone before they were murdered.
So, like, major breakthrough in the investigation. You talked to your friend last night.
Meanwhile, Hutch walks in, talks to his boss's assistant, who they could easily say, oh, maybe she did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, because he's like, yeah, we were playing this game, and he's like, oh, were you together? And he explains, no, online. And he's like, oh, at your house? And he's like, yeah. So the detective's like, 10 minutes away. So you could have got here in 10 minutes, or something like that. And I'm like, first of all, that's a huge jump. Second of all, why would you tell the guy you're accusing him right away? Because if he did do it, you're giving him time to, like, cover his tracks.
Yeah, it's very interesting, too, because he's, like, right outside the crime scene. He can, like, peek in and he sees, like, legitimately his boss and friend dead. In the same manner as the video game. Just want to stress that. Same way.
Yeah, they also don't close the office down at the elevator. They literally just like, come on up for a look.
Yeah, how many people actually showed up to work and you're like, oh, our boss is dead. Guess we're off for a few days.
So the concept of the game is, you die in the game, you die in real life.
Which is why you must stay alive.
The group is back together at this point. Finn finds some images, I think, of Miller's body, like, in the video game. You can check that. And he wants to boot up the game again in memory of Miller while the others are actively telling him no.
Yeah, you know what, though? Let's fucking game up for the gamers.
For the gamers. For the Goon Squad.
Shout out Goon Squad!
For Elizabeth Bathory, the best game developer ever.
Exactly.
That's true.
Better than EA.
I heard she's making Halo Infinite.
God. Finn's gonna play. He's like, you guys can leave. And they do leave. They have an interesting dynamic because you see, like, she's scolding her brother, but then, like, they hug it out afterwards. So they are the best characters in this movie.
Yeah, they actually look like they have a relationship, whereas everyone else just looks like they're actors forced to be together for 25 days.
Yeah.
I think this is also where we learn Abigail's backstory.
Yeah, we've pretty much said it already. Her dad's an architect, her mother's a teacher, and she's going to Princeton in the fall.
Yeah, okay, none of that matters.
All this after she's done sucking on her whole hand. Do you notice that?
I actually didn't.
When they start the scene, she's got like her whole finger in her mouth.
Nice, dude.
Maybe that's like her, like, pickup maneuver? You want to see how far I could stick this finger in my mouth?
October sparks up a cigarette, and this triggers the fire vision.
PTSD. Essentially, that's what it is. Now they start discussing the bodies in the game, how they're matching up to real life. But Finn's not with them during this conversation.
No.
Finn is gaming up for the gamers.
Exactly.
And this is where you get your first explanation of the plot
Yes.
from Swink.
Well, Abigail, she's like, I'm not really a gamer, but the timing of everything's just really weird. And Swink's like, actually, the timing is just bad because we're over-responding to these deaths. But the coincidence of finding Miller's game body and his real body is perfect.
And like Mike said, this is the first time of 4 they describe the plot. So this movie does a very, very unique and creative thing where each character describes the plot in a scene, and then the other 3 don't believe that character when they're describing it, despite them being the previous characters to describe what's happening. I've actually never seen it before done, where someone can say what's happening and forget by the next scene. It sounds like I'm making this up.
It sounds like politics.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, yeah, because everybody says, oh, no, that idea is absurd, yet they've pitched that idea
Exactly.
about 10 minutes ago.
Exactly. That's perfect. That is what this movie is. Then they realize, as they've now pitched this idea that the game is real, that Finn is playing the game, and they, like, run.
They have the mad dash.
So Finn was in a different place than them?
He was in a different part of the
Building.
Yeah.
I guess. Okay. Looks like they ran really far. The first time of 2 scenes where I didn't understand how characters were so far apart from each other. There's a scene later on where they have to find October, and I thought they were in the same house. It happened that she was in, like, the town over.
It's the next door house. I know what you're talking about. It's the abandoned house next door.
But it wasn't. They run past, like, 5 houses, right?
They full sprint down, like, an actual street.
Oh, that's weird. Maybe it is a couple of houses down. I literally thought it was the house next door.
That's what I thought, too, watching the movie. But the movie doesn't portray it that way.
She wandered really far when she's having that cigarette.
But that doesn't matter. Because now we're talking about this where I thought Finn was in the next room, but it looks like they run for a few miles.
Okay, so Finn was in Africa, and in Africa, he spots the Countess. The Countess, she fucking hates mirrors, apparently, because he holds up a mirror and immediately breaks. The Countess hates mirrors. Have I said that already?
You have.
Have you seen Mirrors? Kiefer Sutherland, Amy Smart?
Yeah, I have.
It's a movie.
It's okay. Did you just wink at me? What's up? Yeah, they run this theory through Finn now. Their whole, like, you die in the game, you die for real. And Finn's like, yeah, this is all bullshit.
And then he explains the plot again.
Yeah, he does. He does re-explain the plot.
Ugh. It's like they expected the audience not to understand the movie and what's happening. So they had to keep explaining it to you. Oh, one thing I should mention before we go into the next scene. So Finn paused the game directly in front of a carriage coming at him. Because we're going to learn something a little special about this game, how it likes to bend the rules a little bit. Cut to, I guess, the next day where, like, Swink's fixing a keyboard. Finn is, like, working on his car. Hutch is staring at himself in a mirror like he likes to do. October is probably doing something. I don't remember. Probably wasn't important. Different things start to happen. Like, Swink's keyboard starts to bleed.
Yeah, there's a lot of blood on there.
And, like, Hutch's eyes roll in the back of his head. Finn almost gets hit by a car. So
yeah.
All these weird occurrences start to happen to them.
It's almost like something is forcing them to play this game
Yeah,
again.
I think they're being tormented in reality when they're not playing the game. Is this where Finn, like, hears noises? Like, the horses are neighing, and he hears, like, carriages approaching? Oh, and
That's not yet.
No, and then he almost gets hit by the car.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But he hears, like, horses.
It's, like, foreshadowing his, like...
Pause right in front of the horse and buggy.
Exactly.
Horse and carriage, buggy, carriage. What are we doing here? What are we going with? I need to know. It's all about the language.
Carriage.
Carriage. Okay, the horse and buggy. Hutch walks into a library and starts to look through computer files, right?
Yeah,
Police reports.
I have a question, because I actually don't know. Can you just pull up these crime reports and crime scene photos?
Please explain to me.
How you can just commonly access police reports via the internet.
Especially ones that happened 2 to 3 days ago.
I don't feel like it would be public, like, knowledge of a triple homicide with the graphic photos of the scene to just be on the internet.
No, not to mention he logs into
The police database.
literally the Louisiana police database.
And we all know that the Louisiana State database for cops is the best database. There's no better.
Unless there's, like, another drop plot where he's, like, a computer hacker and can hack into these things.
Nope.
We're not rewriting that shit.
Okay, rewrite. Hutch is actually working for the CIA, and he is one of the original developers of this game, and he is the one who's been putting it out as a beta tester to all these gamers to see how they can handle real-life demon situations. So they want to see if gamers can fight demons in a game as well as in real life, and that's why he's able to access police reports.
Makes as much sense as the actual movie.
So you're saying I can write Stay Alive too?
I'm saying you didn't make it worse.
Okay.
You should write Stay Alive too. That'd be pretty sick. So he's getting information on, the 14-inch garden shears or whatever. He's getting all these police files, so he's getting some background information off of these recent murders. But just before he leaves, he does see, I think, a little girly ghoulie walks across the screen.
You gotta see a bunch of girly ghoulies.
And now Hutch just gets back to the group, slaps the police reports, and he indicates, like, Miller was stabbed to death, just like the video game. Body was drained of all blood is another, like, reference to her being a fucking vamp. Vamping out, right, Shane?
Hell yeah, Nick Cage style.
Or
I'm a vampire, I'm a vampire.
Friday night, Shane.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and Loomis's neck was broken. Hutch is like, guys, I know I've said it before, literally a couple times already now. It can't be a coincidence. They all died the same way in the game.
Is that number 3?
Number 17.
Well, this is my favorite instance of it, because Hutch says all this, no one kind of believes him. Then October gives the history of Elizabeth Bathery, and then Hutch doesn't believe her. And I'm like, dude, I was like, do you have the memory of an infant? Like, you just described what she described.
It's so funny. She's like, I agree with you, Hutch. Retorts every detail of Elizabeth Bathory's life. The tower, the cemetery, the torture chamber. She would hunt her victims down from a carriage with shears. Mirrors are all broken. She doesn't want to see herself age. And Hutch is like, October, you are not helping. I only want to find out what happened to Miller and Loomis.
And it's like, she's doing that for you, dude. That's what she's doing right now.
She goes right back into it. She's like, But for punishment, for what she did, she was walled up in that tower behind the Garouge plantation. And the last thing that she said was she would be back. And boy, is she ever, as a video game developer and the star of the Stay Alive horror survival game.
You guys like this movie as kids, really?
Now, what if Elizabeth Bathery is coming back and killing them off one by one like they die in the game? And Hutch is like, listen to yourself. You out of your mind, bitch!
So, now I remember Elizabeth Bathery making a comeback in another movie, but at least she kind of belonged in that movie. Neon Demon.
I see
Oh,
that.
yes!
That's a movie I would love to talk about on here.
It's hard.
There's definitely a lot of blood bathing.
Keanu Reeves is awesome. Desmond Harrington's equally awesome.
Both super creeps in that movie.
Ellie Fanning does a good job.
Yeah, that movie's excellent. Good connection there, Dame.
I mean, she's not in the movie.
No, but like it's the same thing.
Yeah, the premise is there.
So now going back to this piece of shit, Finn is driving his car and it stops on the side of the road. He gets out and he's scared, but he's happy because he realizes he hasn't died in the game yet. So he can't die.
Yeah, he's pumped. He's happy about that fact.
And he's dancing in the middle of the street.
I think he calls his sister in the group, or they call him, either way. And Abigail's there. He's like, what's up, mama? She's like, what's up? She always responds to
Very
him.
good back and forth.
So he's telling Swink now that he's experiencing the perceptive reality thing he was talking about, where, you know, he's starting to see these things that were, you know, built into the game in real life.
But that's next-gen technology.
This is when Finn starts to hear more horses getting closer and closer to him. It starts to get dark, and a carriage starts to approach him. And by approach him, I mean absolutely runs him over.
However, there are no marks on his body.
No, there's just like blood.
Yeah.
Only by his face.
Yeah. And then like instantly, the gang shows up to find the dead McPoyle.
Dude, I love this scene because they're driving in the car. Hutch is like, we gotta look out for his car. The car's right in front of them as he says this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh my god. Goof City.
He's also extremely close to his car when they get there, and I feel like he was killed a little bit further off.
He definitely rolls.
Yeah,
when
that's
it gets
true.
hit.
That's true.
Probably a popular street, so someone was probably just driving, just scooched his body to the side of the road, and just went on with their way because they had to go to the grocery store and pick up refried beans.
Yeah. Once they find him on the side of the road, it does cut to the game, and it shows that he was killed by the carriage in the game. So he did die the same way in the game that he did in real life.
But Shane, you asshole, he paused the game.
And exactly why I was going to bring up that this game has no rules, because it plays while the game is paused.
It's like someone is playing the game while they're not playing it.
It's a mindfuck. I feel like I'm playing like a Metal Gear Solid.
Crazy.
So then, like, all the main characters who are in the game that are currently paused, what is happening to those characters?
Yeah, you're not supposed to think about that.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, honestly, because you're not.
No, you're honestly, it is a great point, and you're 100% right, but the director doesn't give a shit about that. Just don't think about it.
So what you're saying is, the game is linked to reality, and you have to stay alive in the game to stay alive in real life.
Yeah.
No, you're wrong.
That is wrong. So now the detectives are there, obviously. It's a crime scene. Hutch tells Bunk that his friends are dying the same way that they're dying in the game, again for the millionth time. The detective has, obviously, this look of disbelief, because if you're hearing that, you're obviously not going to believe the person.
Yeah, no, it's an
ridiculous.
unbelievable story, but also, they can't keep assuming Hutch did it, because where the fuck did he get a horse and carriage to run over this friend?
And Bunk points that out to the other cop.
Yeah. Okay, now this is the scene I talked about earlier. The other cop, whose name I don't remember, generic dickhead cop, he goes up to the computer, and Frankie Muniz says, don't play the game, it's dangerous, or yada yada yada. And the cop, in literally 10 seconds, creates a character, gets into the house, gets into a torture chair, and gets killed. And I shit you not, 10 seconds. So he's, in a sense, the best gamer, because of how fast he can get into that situation, and the worst gamer.
I think that Hutch tries to save him in the game, because I think he runs over
He does.
and slaps down the laptop to kind of like put it into sleep mode.
Yeah, but he's already in the torture chair.
He's literally in the torture chair.
So it's like he created his character in the torture chair.
And you see the absolute realistic version of this cop. So it must have taken him a decent amount of time to create that character. And apparently it only takes a second and a half.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's actually in a movie where you're dying in a video game and then dying in real life from a demon ghoul, Elizabeth Bathery. Him creating that character and getting in that situation is the most unrealistic part of the movie.
Yeah. I'm going to do a little rewrite here.
Oh, please.
Instead of making it look like he got far into the game, that little girl that ran up to the group when they first started playing it, they should have just had him laying on the floor with the little girl just beating him over the head with a doll.
Oh my god. What if the little girl was Elizabeth Bathery?
Whoa.
Her name is Emma. You spell those words around, those 4 letters, that spells Elizabeth Bathory.
Right. That's it.
Oh my god. He's right.
Hutch mentioned that he knows her, but it could be perceptive reality.
Am I sitting next to Swink?
Oh my god.
Because you're really onto
I
something.
don't have the visor, unfortunately.
So what you're saying is... No, I'm not going to do it.
That's not my rewrite. I have a better rewrite.
That's your rewrite now. Because we're leaving that in.
Fuck you.
An asshole.
October is giving Hutch the guilt trip.
That's
hard. Because she's crying. She's like, why'd you have to bring the game into her life? She doesn't know that Emma's really Elizabeth Bathory. Just kidding.
Also, though, Finn's the one who wanted them to play it, not Hutch.
Yeah. Finn was the one who pointed out that they should play this game.
Yeah.
And she mentions this, like, my brother was really all that I had. And all I did was make fun of her the entire movie, but, like, you could tell they did have a bond.
Yeah, she's really giving him the business. Like, how dare you? Like, Hutch was like, you know what? I know this game will kill all my friends and close family, but let's do it.
Yeah. And you really see this movie really develops characters. But instead of doing it throughout the whole movie, they do it in, like, a 30-second cycle because she stands up and is like, oh, that's it, I'm not mad at you anymore. We're taking them down. You need to find everything you can about the video game developer, Elizabeth Bathory. We're going to take care of whoever killed my brother.
Spoiler, they're never going to find anything out about the game developer other than his home.
They just got to know that nobody is to play the game moving forward.
Yeah. Then we cut to the detective, and he's at a video game store.
He talks on how he's like some kind of regional Q*bert champion.
Yeah. He's just being a condescending dick to the employee. Typical, like, I grew out of video games when I was 4 mentality, which doesn't age well now since kind of like everyone plays video games now.
People game until like their 70s.
Yeah. Guy at the store basically says, I've never heard of Stay Alive. It's probably some indie underground game.
And it is.
Yeah.
And he's also tweaking, I think.
He's on something.
He just might be like a little off. I don't know. You think he's like on something?
Oh, he's like tapping his fingers. He's like jumping around. He looks like a young Seth Green.
He does mention something here, and I'm not sure if it's supposed to be deep or something, but he's like, the game is an extension of the mind that created it.
It makes sense in terms of the movie, because, like, Elizabeth Bathory created the game, so it is her mind, I guess, right?
I just want to say that's just life in general, because if you're going to do anything in life, it's your mind that's kind of like processing your thoughts, telling you to do that. So, your life is a representation of your mind. No shit.
And speaking of minds, the detective goes into his car, and his mind explodes.
True. You get the wide shot of him in the car, and his mind just bursts. I think inside the car,
Yeah.
he looks into the mirror cracks, because she got there pretty quickly to crack that mirror, because she doesn't want to look at herself. And she's like this cartoon version of herself, but in the real world, and it just looks so fucking dumb, because this is like PC graphics, like on your early 2000s to mid-2000s graphics, probably worse.
I'm playing Alone in the Dark on 3DO graphics.
Yeah, pretty much.
Looks like it was drawn in with crayon
Yeah,
graphics.
exactly.
And then you get to watch the mind just blowing up some scanner shit in the car.
We cut to Hutch and Abigail breaking into Loomis's house. And this is where we learn Hutch's backstory of how he watched his dad set his mom on fire when he was a kid.
And he couldn't help but just watch.
Yeah, he was scared. He was a kid. You know, it's understandable. It's like right now, I'm sitting next to this candle. If I start to light Mike on fire, are you and Dame going to do anything, or are you just going to watch?
Well, Mike's going to light the house on fire at
Yeah.
some point. That's going to tip over because Mike just lights my carpets on fire. That's what he does. He's always done it.
Yeah, no, if there's 2 things I know about that piece of bratwurst right next to me, it's that he likes to light things on fire, and he loves to pee in bugle bags.
That's true. And then hand them to my mom. What a sick bastard.
I don't even have anything to say about that. It's about as true as the Elizabeth Bathory story.
So based on real facts. Okay, so they break into the house, and somehow they find the address to the game developer, right? Like, I forgot how they do it.
Yeah. So I think they see the room of the friend and just like covered in blood. I don't know if Abigail thought there was like perceptive reality or they just left this room completely unclean.
I'm assuming they're just going to tear the house down, so they left it covered in blood.
Yeah, because they're like, oh my gosh. But then they go to Loomis's room, and she's like, how are we going to find it in here? This place, combed clean by the police. But apparently we know that's bullshit. It's a horror movie. They don't
And
check
Hutch
shit.
says it too. Hutch is like, well, they don't know where to look.
Exactly.
Because
So
he's this part of the CIA, right, Shane?
Yeah, exactly.
pops
Right.
open the computer tower, finds it's like a flip phone, and the address is on there.
So now they know where the game developer's house is. So then we cut to October and Swink. And October is revealing that you have to stick 3 nails into Elizabeth Bathory. You have to hit it in her head, her heart,
Her
and
neck.
her neck. Also, they see on the news that cop is dead. And they start to panic. And I was like, their panic's kind of unjustified. They're not going to think they killed the cop. His head clearly exploded with no fingerprints anywhere. But the police are storming this place.
It's like a raid on a cult leader's house.
And, like, why? Like, why would they assume it's them? There's no prints. There's no evidence. There's nothing.
Unjustified in doing it the entire movie, so they might as well continue.
It's getting swarmed. They're forced to leave the house. What we do find out, some interesting background for this movie, is that October's doing some research. She's reading, like, something called the Malleus Demonium or the Witch's Hammer or some bullshit.
The Necronomicon.
It was like some kind of witch hunter's guide to the galaxy during the Inquisition. They realize that it's the words, the text she mentions, the text is what's bringing her back to life. The scene will transition as they're leaving and storming out of the house while they're getting raided.
And this is right after... this is right after October and Swig, they just, like, dive off the balcony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the cops are, like, whistling.
No, literally, they're just whistling because, I'm not kidding, the cops are out of the movie. They're never referenced. They're never shown. It's like they just like, well, they got away. Guess the case is closed.
But why are they running from the cops? Like,
I also can't explain that because they could clearly say we weren't there.
And we didn't do it because we didn't do it.
Yeah. I get like maybe you're scared because they're coming after you, but you could get a public defender and probably win this case.
But then that would drag this movie on, Shane, and that's what you want?
No, that's why I'm glad they dropped the cop storyline, never to be seen again. Out of sight, out of mind.
So now they're going to meet up back at Loomis's house, because that's where the other characters are. And Swing's kind of telling them, he's like, I believe that, the prayer being enacted when they, opened the game. He's like, that's kind of unlikely. But they notice something. They notice the game is playing right now. October's character is being shown in the game screen, and she's nowhere to be found. Yeah, so October's outside. She's smoking a cigarette. And I think she starts to see ghosts in, like, a boarded-up house. I thought it was next door, but apparently it's somewhere in the neighborhood.
It's far away because they run down the block for a very long time to get to her.
And they make the stunning realization, finally, that the game is playing by itself, clearly.
Now, do they see her character dead in the game?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so if she's not dead in the game yet, but they don't know where she is, couldn't one of them just log into her account and play as her character to keep her safe while two of the other ones go to find her?
Yeah.
And wouldn't that just, make the situation so much easier?
Because all they see on the game is her walking around in a building.
Exactly. So wouldn't you just take control and, move her to another room?
Shane, you've never seen an instance yet of somebody playing somebody else's character. That's madness.
Yeah, well, to this movie, you're right, but to a normal person, I think that's what you would do.
So she sees, an apparition near this boarded-up house. So she is going to go in the house, of course. In the house, which is being built, because there's, wood everywhere, and, sheetrock and plastic. She notices, chains on the ground. She starts seeing, these quick apparitions, which are kind of a theme in this point. I'm assuming that they're all the little girls Elizabeth Bathery has killed over the 200-plus years. So she's actually is startled by one of these apparitions. She's starting to quickly move throughout the house. She does pick up hammer and nails. I'm not sure if she picks up exactly 3, which is probably what the shitty movie would do. But then she spots something better. A nail gun.
Now, that's actually one of the smartest things they did in this movie. That's pretty intelligent. I mean, I don't know how it would work.
Yeah, because don't nail guns not shoot? Don't you have to press it into something to work? You can't just shoot a nail gun like a gun. That's a common movie trope that isn't actually accurate, I believe.
This is Happy Gilmore, where you can just shoot it at people's feet.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that.
And I think she walks and sees the back of Elizabeth Bathery, who kind of turns around to face her. And, of course, it's video game Elizabeth Bathery, so she looks like absolute dog fecal matter. And she starts popping the nail gun at her.
Doesn't do anything.
Shoot her with the nail gun? No, it doesn't. She actually ends up dropping the nail gun, starting to run, trips, falls right into a trap that locks her foot in a chain.
Yeah, she gets grabbed by a legit ankle chain. Who keeps those on a construction set?
Yeah, I know. And I feel like these ankle chains have mouths. They just automatically clamp.
So she gets hung upside down, and she gets her throat cut. And that's it.
But she delivers an amazing line.
What's that?
I think she says something like, fuck you or something. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, she's go fuck yourself. I don't know if she has long-ass fucking knives or fingernails, but she just slices her throat with her fingers.
Yeah, she essentially just gives her the slap.
So she's like Freddy Krueger?
Dude, she finger fucks her throat. But the group had heard her scream at this point, so they're busting in. And they see her, obviously, a bloody mess on the floor, and Hutch is like, I can fix this. But I'm like, no, you can't, because she's dead. You can't fix death.
Well, he can. He could kind of scoop the blood and put it back in, and then just kind of hold it there.
Reanimate her.
Like he's Herbert West.
So on the car ride back, all assigning themselves grief at this point.
They left her there. They didn't call the cops or anything.
Oh, well, they also didn't go back in Loomis's house and have Hutch bathe the blood off. He just left it on himself like he is Elizabeth Bathery.
And out of nowhere, Abigail's like, my dad's not an architect. They're like, again? My dad's not an architect. My mom doesn't teach the first grade. And Hutch is like, you mean kindergarten? She's like, whatever. I'm not heading to Princeton. This van is my house.
This is huge. Groundbreaking storytelling shift right here.
At its finest.
It actually means absolutely nothing.
And it makes you realize this character probably should not be in the movie.
Well, yeah, she knows none of the main characters up until the funeral. She has a fake backstory that doesn't exist and doesn't matter that it doesn't exist because it never played a role in the movie. Just her saying she lives in her van now also doesn't matter. Like, nothing about her matters.
This is where I would have seen or hoped for a change where it would have been Abigail who died instead of October, because October had a reason to continue.
Exactly.
Yes.
100% agree. And that's why I always say, like, October should have been just the main female lead in this movie, not Abigail, because, like you said, she had a reason to fight Elizabeth Bathery. I feel like she gets killed off in a very unimportant manner.
Well, considering they just leave her body and that's it.
Yeah. And they could have taken her to the end and done the typical, like, oh, I'm sacrificing myself for the main character because I have a vengeance thing, but they just leave her dead in a construction site.
Why do that when you can force a romance at the very end of the movie?
Ooh, we'll get there.
And we do get there because they show up at the developer's house, which there's no one there. There never will be anyone there. You will never, in this movie, learn who developed this game, which is why I've been saying it's Elizabeth Bathery, because there is no developer. Like, how did this game ever come to be? They never explain it.
You're right. No one's going to doubt you there. Swink has an idea now. He's going to play the game. He's going to continue playing the game because somebody should be playing if the thing is just going to be playing by itself. It doesn't hurt to have someone play.
Yeah, that's another thing. And I know I'm just, like, nitpicking a shitty movie at this point, but, like, why didn't the game just kill all of them sooner? Because they haven't played the game in, like, 2 days. Wouldn't Elizabeth Bathery be able to just, like, knock them all off in, like, 2 seconds? Like, the movie easily.
Maybe she's getting off on it.
You know, you could be right.
Well, that's what we brought up earlier. What happens to the players who are not playing the game?
Yeah.
This game has proven that it kills people
Yeah.
in under 2 minutes.
She's, like, compared to, like, a vampire, right? So maybe it's just, like, her way of feeding.
True. So she doesn't want all the blood right away. That does make sense. She's extending it so she can keep bathing in different days. Mm-hmm. Okay, we can look at it that way.
But this might be stuff that was cut, like stuff that was cut from the movie that they just don't explain. Because if you're watching this, just like the way it's rolling, that's never built into the story at all.
What would have helped this movie a lot is if they just cut off another hour and 25 minutes. And it just didn't exist.
Just roll credits.
Yeah.
If you just roll the credits, the cast looks good.
Yeah, one thing you'll learn, guys, is I'm pretty harsh to movies I don't like. Just ask Unfriended.
Oh my, Shaney.
Frankie Muniz is playing the game. They go into the house, Abigail and Hutch.
Now, this is another different mansion.
Yes. Swink realizes that the house that they've arrived at is the house in the game. They finally put 1 and 2 together.
Yeah, because Swink's playing the game. He sees it's the same house. He even notices the freaking horse and carriage, like in a stable on the side. It's the same as in the game. So he's not going to start giving directions to Hutch to explore the developer's house while he's at the house in the game.
Yes, because for some reason, Hutch and Abigail split up. Just typical horror movie stuff, but like, why? Just stay together.
Especially because they walk in holding hands.
That's true.
Yep, it begins.
Swink is taking him towards the iron gates. Abigail is in the room that she noticed in the game when she was playing it on that first day. And this is like, you're getting every character simultaneous. So there's like one character's doing something, another character's, exploring another area of the house. So Hutch is noticing the mausoleum, which obviously leads to the tower. They are definitely in Garouge's plantation. And back to Abigail, who's going to Narnia. She's opening that wardrobe that she did in the video game when they were playing it earlier. She's in this room with like maggot-filled dolls.
You mean she doesn't find a lion and a witch?
She finds some photos of witches, it looks like.
Okay, so Narnia, confirmed.
Horse carriages, sacrifices, basically anything and everything Elizabeth Bathery.
She also finds her face covered with cockroaches.
There is roach face.
That's like your worst nightmare.
By far. By far my worst nightmare.
And she even finds the diary and the shears.
They're good shears. That's all I have to say about the shears.
Now, this is one thing that confused me, because we're going to get to a part now where we really see the game and life coinciding. But she takes the shears but Elizabeth Bathery has the shears.
I know.
Well, Elizabeth Bathery, as we've established, is the CGI video game Elizabeth Bathery. So she has the video game shears.
Okay.
Abigail has the real life shears.
Right.
Is that accurate?
No.
I don't know. Probably just made it up.
It might be. So all of a sudden, the room goes dark. And I realize it's a shame that she didn't have her Elizabeth batteries for a light.
Nice.
Don't condone this behavior.
So, back to Hutch. He's getting directions to get to Abigail because he hears her screaming. Swink is guiding him there.
Swink is also doing something else. Swink is using his in-game character to get to the room that Abigail is in.
It's interesting because he finds this, like, locked outside cellar. He's trying to get up, and he can't bash open the lock. So he's like, okay, here, try this crowbar. And he drops the crowbar from the game onto the stairs that he can just pick up in reality.
Now, this is the only case where he does this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he does everything else in-game.
Throws a virtual crowbar
He does
on the floor.
Well, he does one more thing. He does open a door for him.
No, but this is the one and only time where he gives him something out through the game.
Like he trades an inventory item.
You never knew you were able to interact virtually with real life.
I see what you're saying. That was never established at any point in time. And
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. So we're flashing back to Abigail, and she has the lighter. She spots another apparition behind her. She's like crawling backwards, and I think she kind of back crawls into a chain that chokes her neck.
And her arms are pinned, but then you realize it's the two spirit girls that are holding her down as Elizabeth Bathery comes in with the shears. This is when Swink, in-game, drops 3 roses to disperse of the 3 spirits. Hutch comes in at the same time, and even though Swink is the one that saves her, she kisses Hutch. And there's 2 things wrong. Hutch didn't save her. And why the fuck is she kissing Hutch in the first place? They have absolutely never expressed any interest in each other.
Shane, they were holding hands.
Yeah, I think it's like a very subtle romance, but like I agree, it does not develop well.
Yeah, go outside and fucking kiss Swink, the guy who actually saved you.
Give him a good old fashioned swinky.
Yeah, give him the old 1-2 swink.
Oh my god. I'm erect. Then all of a sudden, the door of the van closes, Swink's left outside of the van, and the game is playing without him.
Yeah, so Elizabeth Bathery is now a cheater. Because she's got to lock the door and not let him use the mouse and keyboard.
And he says that. He's like, you're cheating. He has no access to play the game. And he sees like this, I could be wrong, I think he sees a dark looming cloud.
Yeah.
Because the idea is that she kills in the nighttime. She kills in the day, too, because she kills Sophia Bush's character in the day. So it's more cheating. So I don't think that really matters at this point.
Yeah.
She killed Phineas during the day, too.
I think, yeah.
It's whatever she wants.
Yeah, but she kind of made it dark.
Oh, so she can make it dark.
Yeah.
It's like her ominous presence, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's one of her perks when she leveled up to 30.
Yeah, she takes the cloud out of the video game and puts it in the real sky.
Yeah, I hate this movie.
So then he's like jetting through the forest, and I think he trips and falls. You see the horse and carriage kind of stop right in front of him because he's like tangled up by a bunch of like roses and like vines. And Elizabeth Bathery gets out of the horse and carriage, and I think she's flexing her shears.
And then that's it. We cut out of that scene.
Yeah, now there is a whole thread about this scene, believe it or not, online, about what the hell happened to Swink.
Yeah, because everyone's like, he should 100% be dead.
Right.
But I disagree with that. They specifically do show that he fell in a rose bush. And if there's one thing this movie has stuck to consistently, it's that roses save you.
Yeah.
And this is actually the first time in the movie, in real life, where they use the roses. The next 2 characters are going to start dropping them when they go through, but like, this is showing, like, the roses work.
And obviously, like we mentioned, the roses work, so he's not going to obviously die. I just think it was improper that it took him this long to get where he needed to be to the end of the movie.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Agreed. Because Hutch and Abigail are going to find the laptop and see that his character is dead, and they assume that Swink is dead.
Yeah, and I mean, even in game and in real life, they show every time they throw a rose, the ghost disappears.
Yeah.
So why is it that they're showing that he's dead now? I can understand him laying down in there, but taking a little rose nap?
Well, then they start going back on their adventure. They head towards the crypt where the boss went down in the beginning of the game to the torture chamber. Abigail goes in, and Hutch tosses a rose at the carriage to make the carriage disappear.
Then he enters the tomb with her. They hug it out. I guess he was scared that like something bad would happen to him, that he locked her in there.
Drop roses as they walk.
Yeah, they drop roses. They immediately wilt away. And I believe they see a lot of ghosts at this point, just like crawling, running at them.
They're chased by the children of the crypt. I don't know what else to call them, so we'll call them the children of the crypt.
They run forward into a chamber. They lock it behind them. Then he's like, we need to find the door to the tower. He's like, oh wait, there's the door to the tower. So he steps into the door, closes automatically, separating them. And he's trying to unlock it, that's right, because they're both crying.
But it's nice of Elizabeth to give them this moment because, she's chasing them with the cart, she's chasing them with little girls, the door closes behind them, separating them, but she gives them just enough time for a sweet exchange.
This is a sweet exchange, all right.
He's like, I'm not leaving you. She's like, I want you to go. You're our only chance. You gotta finish this. So he gives her a rose. He's like, I will not let Elizabeth Bathery take you. She gives him a lighter, which is interesting because he's afraid of fire. Gives him a lighter, and with the lighter, she gives him another gift. She sucks his fingers.
Finger suck.
Which I would argue is my passion bumper this movie.
There was finger suck, Shane.
There was. And this is always my debate with passion bumps. It's not passionate because they shouldn't be together. There was no chemistry leading to this.
Please DM us if this is a passion bump or not, because a finger suck is always passion.
Alright, I mean...
Shane knows better than anybody finger sucks are passionate.
Because Shane is going to suck my finger.
I'm not. Just for the record, he is putting his finger towards my face, and I am not sucking on it. It's actually touching my face now. Okay, it's a passion bump.
Ow! Passion bump! Passion bump! Passion bump! My G.
Jesus. So, after these two characters have now been separated by this door, Hutch goes upstairs to find the body of Elizabeth Bathery, and Abigail, for some reason, pulls the petals off the rose saying, he loves me not. I don't get this part.
Another, please explain to me. Fucking explain to me why she's taking her only saving grace, and he loves me not. You just hugged, even though there was not a lot of passion there. You still kissed and hugged. And she's like, he loves me not. Like you're a schoolgirl, and she's plucking the entire rose, and they're wilting on the ground.
Yeah, whatever was going to happen to her now, she kind of deserves. She's stupid.
Well, I kind of saw it as like she was prolonging the one rose she had by using a relationship that's absolutely pointless.
Well, yeah, especially since, like, Hutch is going upstairs and he just starts nailing Elizabeth Bathery.
Nice use of the word nailing. So, the idea we find out through this movie is they're going to look for her body. They have to nail her in the head, the heart, and the neck, but they also have to burn her blood. That's what he's going up here for.
Which he finds the body, and that's why I said, like, as Abigail's just doing, he loves me not, he just starts nailing Elizabeth Bathory. And I mean, like, he's hitting it hard.
I think when he hits it hard, the house shakes, right?
Yeah, but he's hammering it with the shears. Everybody knows if you need to hammer a nail, you use shears, not a hammer.
Exactly, and that's like Brian said, it's the nailing is so hard, the house is just vibrating, it's shaking.
And I think it knocks over his laptop, his bag, and there's, like, flammable fluid on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, when you're nailing someone this hard, there's going to be collateral damage.
I do want to explain that. Bathery is stringing up Abigail at this point. She's hanging upside down.
Yeah, yes.
So when he does nail her for the last time in the forehead and it shakes, whoever's there, Elizabeth Bathery, there's a weird figure with a freaking spear plucking at her. I don't even know what that was about. She's rescued, everybody disappears, and as he's going to pick up his stuff, Hutch, Elizabeth Bathery, Undertaker rise up from the bed.
And spit those nails out like Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yes. And he's just hearing. He's not looking at her. He's still like looking at what he's picking up. You hear the clang of the nails hitting the ground and his eyes widen because he knows what's behind him. Hutch is turning around, standing up, and he sees the last nail fall from her forehead. Then he's like, kind of remembers what October said, how like she like wants to always see herself young, never as old, and now she breaks mirrors, and he sees that his laptop, his Alienware laptop, high performance gaming laptop, is transparent, like it's almost mirror-like, so he just holds that up. So she sees her own reflection, she sees how old and hideous she is, and she gets hotter.
She goes full Golbat on us?
Yeah, that's the best way to put it, because her mouth unhinges like a snake, and she kind of just shouts.
Yeah, she screeches, and you can see a gust. It's like a hypersonic wind that she expels from her Golbat-like mouth.
So Hutch just lights her on fire.
Well, he's got to conquer his fear, and the way that this house erupts is kind of insane, because he uses the lighter, and I guess that this lighter that he gets from Abigail doubles as like some sort of radioactive, cum-curdling, hyperfire blowtorch, because it lights the tower on fire. Complete inferno.
He knocks over a trickle from the oil lamp and it lights literally the whole room.
It's kind of crazy.
And now they have a very good throwback here because he still technically doesn't conquer his fear because he sits in the fetal position like he was a kid again.
Yeah, because he sees himself as a kid and he's just screaming, like, and he's still helpless, like he doesn't move.
Luckily, we find out Swink is still alive.
The Swinkster.
Because him and Abigail storm in and get him out of that room.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but this is one of my favorite parts of the movie. Because not only do they bust in the door, kicking it open like they belong there, Swink comes in with rose bushes in his hands and does an interpretive dance over the flames. He's just down low, dancing, swinging those things. It's hot.
Yeah, this room is always hot. Or were you talking about the fire?
I wasn't going to go there, Shane, but you did it.
It's true. I always go there. So, with that said, just to wrap this up, because honestly, who cares about this movie anymore? The three of them leave, we cut to a video game store, and they put out the movie Stay Alive, and it's in Game Informer magazine, and that's it.
It's not a movie. Yeah, so the video game goes from underground to on
On-ground.
console for PlayStation 2, and it's all over Game Informer. So they're mass producing Stay Alive as a console game.
So, this is my question. I don't want to overuse it, because we've said please explain to me like 18 times, but honestly, please explain to me. How did this game get put out mainstream? Who was the developer?
Elizabeth Bathery.
No, but like, in the context of the movie, yeah, I guess she is, but like, in real life, a game needs a developer and a studio and a producer to actually be put out. Like indie games don't get put out on shelves in GameStop, especially in 2006. So like, who made it?
And the game
Activision?
still doesn't have a cover. Still just like a...
No, it's red. There is a red cover
Is it a
now.
red cover?
There's a
Yeah.
red cover now. With, I believe, the house in red, essentially. But yeah, it's like, how did this game get made? Who found the beta copy? Like, how any of this ending happened?
My only rationale is that they started making this game before they killed her at the end.
I guess. The last little bit, when you see all this stuff in the store, you see Elizabeth Bathory alive in the tower. And that is Stay Alive 2006, a bottom 3 movie we've now reviewed on this podcast.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what you're going to give this film. I'm going to give the rating system of this episode Spooky Samara Armstrongs, because she plays Abigail.
I might lower my rating now.
How many spooky Samaries are you giving this?
Alright, I'll go first, then we'll go to Bri, and then I can't wait to hear our two guests' opinion. I'm giving this a 2 out of 10. This movie is so bad. Like, I'm thinking of the movies we've talked about on this podcast. Like, Rise of the Scarecrows, I think I gave a 1 or a 2, but, like, it had a charm to it.
You give it a 1.
I did, okay. But I still kind of enjoyed it more than this, too.
Yeah.
Like, Stay Alive is definitely better than Slender Man. I think Slender
Yes.
Man is probably the worst movie we've done
It
now.
is.
I would put Stay Alive right on that unfriended level of my despising every second of watching it. I nitpicked everything. The acting was terrible. They cut important parts out. Who the fuck was the developer? Seriously, who the fuck was the developer of this game? I hate it. 2 out of 10.
I'll go next. I got this at a 3 out of 10 because I'm like measured up. I actually rated this prior. I had a 4. I actually lowered my rating to a 3. Nothing redeemable. Movies got a pretty good cast, but they act poorly. It's in the 2000s, so I mean, I guess you could classify it as a slasher, but it's not like a super slasher. So
Actually, one of the trivia things that I thought was actually really cool, it is a slasher, and it's Disney's only slasher.
yeah, it's
Fascinating.
kind of crazy. So yeah, they'll classify it as a slasher, I guess, because Elizabeth Bathory is killing them off one by one. But the dialogue is pretty bad for me. There's characters that are meaningless. They never tie in why they had to make a video game about Elizabeth Bathory in particular. Like, why is she the focus? Why is she in the video game? And like you said, who made the video game? A lot of loose ends. A lot of plot holes. It's entertaining, and I'm thinking, like, it's probably slightly worse than Truth or Dare, but better than Slender Man for sure. So that's kind of where I'm resting this movie. Did not get better from when I watched it in 2006. I thought it was bad back then. I just think it's just a little worse watching it now.
Go for it, Dame.
I'm gonna be honest, I think this movie is pretty fun. I mean, I know it's got its, like, bad dialogue and, you know, really cringe moments of interaction where you don't know why it exists, but I'm gonna give this movie a 4 out of 10. I'm gonna be a little more reasonable. Like, I don't think it's not awful. It's something you can watch and you can be entertained. It's just, it is missing plot points that are pivotal to the movie's execution. You know what I mean? So it wasn't terrible. It was fun. It was fun. It just wasn't it wasn't complete. Unfinished.
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of go the same direction. So, like, you know, over the years, it's always been a hot debate amongst us where, you know, Shane and Bryan hate this movie. Me and Damian are, you know, for it. But now that I rewatched it, all right, I'll just get to the rating. I gave it a 5 out of 10. Whoa! Strictly because I watched this movie twice, 2 days in a row. Once with my girlfriend, once without her. And I still enjoyed it. Guilty pleasure. But the movie's not good. You know, it's missing so many key points. The fact that they cut budget two main characters and pretty much what explains the movie just takes it down. But I'm giving it a 5 strictly because I didn't mind watching it 2 days in a row. It sucks.
The movie, it can't explain itself, which is the biggest issue of it. But there was like some interesting points that you made, this being Disney's only slasher. Ben Foster was originally set to play the role of Hutch, but he gave it to his brother John, who he thought was better suited for the role. And obviously,
That's a slap in the face.
yeah, they mention throughout this movie, pay homage to Fatal Frame with the character of Abigail taking photos in the funeral. So that's why she does that. It's supposed to be a Fatal Frame tribute.
And that camera's actually an exact replica.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So with your guys' reviews being obviously more positive than mine, I disagree, but I respect your opinion because I get what you're saying with it's a guilty pleasure movie. Because I feel like everyone has those movies. Like you said with me earlier, I love Doom with The Rock. It's terrible. It's bad. It has nothing to do with Doom. But I kind of love it.
Yeah, no, I mine too. Jennifer's Body. I mentioned it like 100
Yeah.
times. I love Jennifer's Body.
Yeah, no, it's just, I like the idea of the movie. I like the idea of the horror aspect with the video games where they're intertwined, but they could have done it so much better, and they didn't, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
Many.
Like, great idea, missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm very harsh when I don't like a movie, as you can tell through these reviews.
It's like you get angry.
I do. Irrationally angry, because it's just a movie from 2006 about video games. I shouldn't be getting that mad about it.
You get really into it.
But here I am.
Yeah, you get really into it, just like the way you eat an ice cream cone.
For those of you who haven't seen me eat an ice cream cone, it's not as sensational as he made it out to be. I eat an ice cream cone like any other human.
It's a thrill ride. It's glorious.
I make sure none of it leaks.
I'd give it a passion bump.
Me too, for sure.
Alright, that'll admit, me eating an ice cream cone has more passion than Stay Alive.
There's like so much Komodo dragon tongue when you just lick it clean.
Fascinating. I'm glad everyone knows that now. I want to say thank you for being on,
Thanks,
Mike.
boys.
Thank you,
Was
Dame, for
fun.
being on. This is Damian's second time. He'll definitely be on a third at some point. Mike, not too sure. Just kidding. Anytime you want to come on, just let us know, and we'll figure something out.
Yeah, guys, I really enjoyed this. Thanks for having me on.
Mike is the podcast king.
It's true. He listens to more podcasts than anyone I know.
That's probably fair. But, number one right now, 2 guys, 1 Necronomicon.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you. So thank you both, and now, as you know, we're getting into October.
Spooky season is upon us, Shane Boat.
Exactly. Obviously, since we have a horror podcast, we are big horror fans. We're big Halloween fans. We're big October fans.
Big thick.
So we're obviously doing a theme of all movies that revolve around the holiday of Halloween.
Obviously.
And what better way to start off than the houses that October built?
I literally can't wait. It's going to be awesome. We have 4 great Halloween-themed movies lined up.
We're opening with the houses that October built. We do have a theme, but I'm not going to mention where we're going in. The other 3 we're doing are Trick or Treat, which is a personal favorite of Brian's.
It is one of my favorite horror movies, top 10.
Love it.
We're doing Night of the Demons, not the good one. The remake with Shannon and Elizabeth. And of course, we're doing the original John Carpenter Halloween. So those will be our big 4 reviews in October. So with that said, we are 2 guys, 1 Necronomicon signing off, and we will see you next week in a haunted house.
And we are releasing a promotional episode on our Instagram of Shane taking down Macamee Manor. Watch it on our Instagram. We'll probably post it on Twitter and Facebook. He's going to walk through. No one's ever done it. Shane is going to conquer the beast.
None of that is happening.
We've been saying it. He's getting a one-way flight to Tennessee because I don't know if he's coming back.
There's absolutely 0 chance I go through that house.
He's going to be the one behind the 1-0. The only person to ever conquer Macamee Manor.
No. Very strictly, no. That is not a haunted house. It is a torture chamber, and I will pass.
Fine, but he's gonna eat my ass.